Hi, I'm Alabama attorney Andy Segal, and today I want to address the question of what happens if the police didn't read me my rights? And this is probably one of the most common questions or complaints that I get when people call me up for the first time. They'll say, well, I was arrested for thus and such, and the police, they never read me my rights. What's the consequence of that? Depends on the circumstances, of course. Sometimes the consequence is there is no consequence, it doesn't matter. A common myth is that the police have to read you your rights. That's not necessarily true. For example, if the police see somebody committing a crime and they just arrest them, don't want to question them, don't need to question them, there's no need for the rights. What we're talking about when we talk about a police officer reading somebody their rights goes back to a famous Supreme Court case called Maranda versus Arizona. And basically what the court said is that if somebody is in custody and being questioned, then they need to be read their rights. So there's all sorts of situations where a person either isn't in custody. The most common you see is, for example, let's say somebody is stopped for a DUI. Have you been drinking? The person's not in custody. Typically the person's not in custody. And so that is not a violation of their rights under those circumstances. The other instance might be if it's not a response to a question. Let's say somebody has been arrested. They're in the back of the police car and they say, hey, you forgot about that big sack of weed I got in my pocket. That statement is admissible because it wasn't a response to a question. Now we can get into all sorts of much more complicated legal issues here, but I want to just explain that in a nutshell, that the fact that the police did not read you your rights does not automatically mean you win your case, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the police were wrong in not doing so. It depends on the facts and circumstances, and as is always the case, you're best to talk to a lawyer about these things to figure out what's right or wrong and whether it can help or not help you. Thank you. I'm Andy Segal.